Welcome to the Fundayao podcast, a weekly discussion on remote sensing, applications and technology in Africa, China, the global south, and all of the world. My name is Simo Balz, and I'm today's host, and I'm really delighted to be joined today by Professor Chile, and who is a proto-historian at Ege University, and by Associate Professor Dr. Nusret Demir, who is remote sensing expert at the Akdeniz University, both from Turkey. And you guys, you won the 2026 European Heritage Award, or the Europe Nostra Award, in the category Citizens Engagement and Awareness. So congratulations on that one. And you won it on your work on assessing earthquake damage to cultural heritage sites. So this is the most prestigious award for archaeologists, and so that is a very great achievement. And I'm very happy that you join us on our very humble podcast here. Now, after that devastating earthquake in February 2023 in Turkey, you sent a social media post calling and inviting colleagues to document the damages at the historical sites. Professor Demir joined in with satellite with his knowledge on remote sensing and satellite imagery. And you got a lot of volunteers helping on that project, and you covered about 1,500 sites. So, but let me start in the beginning. When you, as a historian, when you heard about that earthquake, when you were there, what was your initial thought, as you know this area quite well?
Oh, first of all, I live very far away from the earthquake area. But as you say, I have been to the area and I worked previously in that area. In terms of archaeology and history, it is a very special region. And the earthquake covered more than 10 provinces in Turkey, and it also affected North Syria. So it was a huge region with thousands of historical and archaeological sites. But the first thing that came to my mind was not archaeology, in fact. We had friends, relatives living in the area, many people affected and unfortunately died because of the earthquake. So the first reaction was pure grief and sadness and shock. And after that, we started trying to reach news from this region, and it was very hard to get in the first days because there was total blackouts, there was no internet connection, the mobile phones were not working. So it was a total chaos in the very beginning. Only after that, after 2 days, I started to think about the cultural heritage in the region. And this was the first time that I thought maybe people who go there with their own sort of efforts, maybe while they're doing rescue work in the region, they can also take pictures of historical buildings or archaeological sites or fortresses, so that we at least get an idea, a general idea of what's going on in terms of cultural heritage in the region. Because we know that after earthquakes, after disasters, natural disasters, and this is very critical information to collect. So this was the initial thought. But then on the 8th of February, so 2 days after the earthquakes, so there were double earthquakes with immense magnitude, 7.5 and 7.8 in the region. Nusret Demir from Akdeniz University, he reached out to me saying that we can in fact measure the impact on cultural heritage sites by using the remote sensing data that we can obtain from the radar satellites. So this was how this whole work was first initiated. Then I reached out to make an appeal on the social media and asked for volunteers to join us. And that's how it all started, 2 days after the earthquake. And many students, archaeologists, conservationists, restoration people, architects, all sorts of people then sent me messages and they said they would like to join our effort together so that we can cover the whole entire region and start collecting data, especially the geographical coordinates of the cultural heritage sites.
Yes, great. And Nusret, so how did it happen? Why did you reach out to her?
It was very difficult days, I must say. Our brain just out of order, I must say. Personally, you feel that you should do something. You should do something. You shouldn't stay like you don't do anything. So it's a kind of motivation that I seen. I was following already Chiller. She is a famous scientist in her field. She contributes. I'm also keen of archaeological science and history. So I was already following in the Instagram and seen a post that she was asking about the damages on the cultural heritage, as remote sensing touches every topic in Earth nowadays, from climate change, cultural heritage, city planning, digital twins, and everything. So remote sensing can do something. And I thought I just sent her a message that we just need a database of locations and attributes of the items, assets of cultural heritage. And that was the idea that came out at that time.
Yes, yeah, I'm. How to say? I remember a bit the time in the beginning, not because of me, but because of my student Jim. Right, you know him, Nusret. And he was also very distressed at that time. So there was also, how to say, at least at the beginning of the first 2 or 3 days, not really time, as you said, for thinking, right? So yeah, I remember that. I remember that, especially from his side. Yeah. So how did all of these people then come together? Was it via Instagram, or was it a mixture of different media, or how did you find each other then after the call went out?
After we did the call together with Nusret Demir, as I said, people started applying via Instagram first.
Okay.
And then together with Nusret Demir, we started a WhatsApp chat group. And then that was actually the space where we organized. So you should imagine that we were at home at that time. Also, the universities were closed. It was such a big disaster that affected not only the region, but the entire Turkish administration. So we were at home, and this group came together, and it consisted of people who actually didn't know each other, and people who never previously worked with each other. And that includes even Nusret Hoca and me. We have never come face to face with Nusret Demir until last year. So it's a remote sensing project by people who worked remotely in their homes, in their offices. And the organization was, therefore, everything was online. And we used very simple, in fact, online tools that are available to everyone. So at the end, we were around 50 people, and the coordination was done by Nusret Demir and me. And the volunteers, we shared the workload among ourselves. And when we started creating this database Nusret Demir needed, so that from scratch, so there was no like a ready-made database. So from scratch, we started to gather information, georeference information, and information on the cultural heritage sites, mounds, fortresses, mosques, religious buildings, all sorts of things from every period, from each province. So we shared the provinces among ourselves, and we started filling out the database on Excel sheets.
Cool. Okay. And then, so, Nusrat, when did the satellite data arrive? How did you get to the data? And did that take a long time, or was it fast enough?
We didn't need a bureaucracy at that time. So you were the first person that provided the data
okay.
to our team from China for visualization and to check in the evaluation. It was very useful for Chinese data, I must say. And all open data also from you, from ESRASAR, this expansive imagery, also area damage proxy maps, also from NASA, also Copernicus Sentinel-1 for calculation of displacement. We were not engaged to any bureaucracy at that time. So we had already a very strong network, international network. So they helped us too much into deliver the data also from Italian Space Agency via Candeli Observatory. Professor Ergin Tav provided Italian Cosmos Sky data at that time. Actually, I think our team was too lucky and set up this data set from this international network. Even much more data maybe we got from any close by public office, I must say, at that time.
Yeah, we could.
So without any bureaucracy, I must say, only the openness and these contributions from international society.
Yeah, we got the data from LASAK in China at that time,
Yes.
and also because of the ISPS connection, we all working in ISPS together, and that was very, I have to say, yeah, that was very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, and you use SAR data, so like I guess some of our listeners know what is SAR data, but maybe you can explain us a bit why especially SAR data is quite helpful there.
Because you have some less limitations compared to optical data. You don't need sun, and at the time the weather also was rainy in the earthquake region. With from the first images we got from Chinese satellite, I remember it was very rainy day, so we could see what happened at the first earthquake. So this is one of the most advantageous points of SAR data. And other point, you feel the structure with SAR. So with penetration, you feel the geometry. If there is a change with some time analysis, pre and after post-earthquake data, so you can investigate if there is a kind of structural change on the surface you observe. So these are, I think, two main advantages compared to other optical data. That's why I mostly focus on the SAR data in this research.
And your project, how does that? You had no budget, right? There was zero budget for you available. You just put that team together via WhatsApp group, right? So, how to say? Was that kind of helpful and freeing, or was it a limiting factor?
No, it's not limiting factor. So you pass by bureaucracy. If you need a budget, you have many signatures, confirmations, evaluations. With Chiller, we applied a project about cultural heritage last year. We are still waiting for the results of our proposal, for example. At that time, we didn't wait any seconds. So this was the most important point, maybe our action, I must say. So if we were firstly look for a budget, so we would lose time at that time.
So,
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it was our advantage, in fact, that we didn't have to go through any bureaucracy, any red tape. We started immediately, and it was an urgent situation as well, so you can't really lose time. So everybody was highly motivated. All the volunteers spent hours working on their computers, and some of them even learned for the first time how to collect this sort of data. So, but it went so quickly, and everybody was very motivated, and it didn't cost us any time to convince other people or other institutions or for funding or anything. So we could just start right away, and I think it was an advantage for us. The feeling was much more, it's not like we are doing a project, it was more like we are doing a shared sort of work together in big solidarity. And international agencies also helped us through you and other agencies. We were so lucky so that we could move really quickly to get to the results.
And what I can add here, there were also sub-benefits out of this analysis. For example, some infrastructure companies were asking if this treated problems. So since we had all damage data, so we could also provide this kind of information to the society from chamber, from a disaster office, also from public office. So it was not only the cultural heritage, so it also give benefit to many offices, I must say, and at the same time.
Yes. But when you made the call and when you reached out and during the work, did you ever imagine you could win such an important prize for this work?
Even we didn't have any plan to make it a scientific work, a paper, and just day by day doing something. Only motivation, some collaboration, getting together, some blessing, lowering the stress, lowering this kind of bad feelings. So in the end, we still, Chilar Hoca, our motivation was just collaboration, I must say, in the end.
Yes, no one was in the position to think about any scientific outcome or an award.
Yeah.
Could never ever imagine that. So during those days, we couldn't think of anything else, just collect data, and we were concentrated on our work. And let's see what we can say. Maybe we can publish a report for everyone to reach and find out about the cultural heritage. And that was the only motivation and the only outcome we thought we could provide. But the whole thing turned out to be much bigger than we imagined. And the award was very unexpected, and it came after 3 years after we started the project. So it's not planned, or no one could have foreseen this. So it was a big surprise, and it made us very, very happy and proud for the volunteers and for the work we have collaborated.
Yes. During the project, when you all worked together, did you meet any skepticism or kind of resistance because you work together with volunteers? Sometimes academia sometimes can be a little bit protective and elitist, right? Was there anything during the project, or was there no problem or no resistance at all?
There was no resistance, really, especially during the time of the project. As I said, we organized over WhatsApp and all that, and it worked so flawless. Everybody was very easy to work with, and it made our lives easier in that moment. And afterwards, we were also in national media. Many news outlets were interested in our work, so they made reports. And that was also fine. But in the academia, I cannot say that there was a big interest. So we presented our work with Nusret Hoca at several occasions. So people were interested, but you cannot say that there was a huge interest or appreciation of what we have done. From the government side or from the academia side, the interest was low, in my opinion. Only after the award, maybe there is more visibility right now. I'm not sure. Maybe Nusret Hoca would like to add here.
Yeah, you are right, Çiler. As you say, the interest from our institutions were not that expected, I must say. Also had proposed some support for student locations in the region, even at that idea had no attention at all. This, I think, answer is bureaucracy. So when you have a high load of bureaucracy, when you want to do something, then it makes people maybe they keep away to go with what you have, I must say. So open data, this volunteer work, this this type of work is still not, how can I say, related to academic standards still.
Yeah, I see. I see
I
that.
think
I
this is
see
my
that. I see that issue. Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
exactly. The idea of citizen science is very new
Mhm.
in Turkey. And for me, it was also new, by the way. I've never done work like this before, so this was also for me the first time. But I could see now how important and how quality data can emerge from citizen science projects as well. So I've learned also so much through this work.
Yes. So, do you think that model of citizen science and bringing people together ad hoc, at least at the disaster situation, do you think you could transfer that to other areas or other disasters?
Yeah, sure.
Mm. Yeah. Very, very interesting. So, thank you both a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Yes. So that's
I
very
think there's
nice.
so much potential there, yes.
Yes, actually, I believe that. I believe that. It's quite interesting. It's very good work. And let me ask you, where can people find your work? Is there a website or something where our listeners may take a look?
Yes, yes, sure. There is a web
Mm,
page, uh, cultural heritage, TREQ
okay.
dot netlify
All right.
dot app.
Okay, I will put it in the show notes so people can click on there. All right. So thank you both so much for joining. That's really very interesting work. I am very happy that we could be a small part of it and help this very important work at the time. I It was really interesting. Also, your results is honesty is amazing. I'm very happy that you both took the time to talk with me a bit about that, and I hope we get more people interested. And let me say, citizen science is really very interesting, and I hope also people pay attention to that part of your work and how we could do something in this way. So thanks again.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Timo. It was great knowing you. Thank you for your help also.
You're very welcome.
Thanks so much.